This is your weekend market review for Sunday, January 12th, 2024. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your daily market review. Sunday, January 12th, 2025. Hopefully you're doing well. Sorry for a little later recap. Ended up going up to the mountains, skied with some friends, actually snowboarded. But yeah, wanted to get this out as soon as possible on Sunday morning. So we know going into next week, we've got a lot of data. CPI, PPI. We've got options expiration as well, correct? Yeah, we have option. No, yeah, we definitely got it. Sorry, I'm like, man, brain's still a little foggy. Definitely got option expiration, tons of data, earnings start, bankings, earnings on Wednesday, all sorts of fun stuff. Again, if you're not prepared next week for what to happen, then check out this market review for more insights and help. And so here's the things that I would like to focus on. If you're thinking about whatever trade you're in, if you are trading anything that has earnings coming up, please be cognizant that you could get absolutely throttled. And so we always talk about the second mouse gets the cheese, the first one gets the trap. Now, sometimes you will miss big moves in opposite directions or different, or in the current direction you may have been betting on. But here's the thing. It's all about risk management, doing the right things, and making sure you're safe. Because again, it's easier to deal with wins than managing losses, meaning like coming back from big losses. So again, if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord room, links just from below. We're going to get into it because, again, you've got banking earnings starting, options expiration, tons of earnings data, economic data. Again, PPI on Tuesday, CPI on Wednesday. And then a bunch of housing stuff the rest of the week. So anyway, let's get into it. So, and I want to give a quick shout out. Again, I appreciate all you guys dropping comments in there. Again, not that everyone has to agree on everything. This is not some sort of cult where everyone is, following some leader blindly. Like, everyone has the ability to have distinct thoughts, beliefs, and ideas about the market. Because again, we're all just interpreting the data. So again, I want to give a shout out to all the folks who are involved. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, people in the Discord room, any little thing you do, I appreciate. Mucho. And again, if you want to chat, hit the link in the Calendly. Oh, come on, load. Let's take 30 minutes chat about whether it's real estate and you're looking to buy, sell, invest in it. Again, if you're not using our services, you're not reaching out for help, sad, but it is what it is. Again, would help you find an agent anywhere in this country, part of some private referral groups with the best agents in the country. Do not use someone who's mediocre. This is probably the biggest purchase or sale in your current lifetime. Why would you use discount services? I don't get it. Again, you save 1% and it costs you 10% in your purchase price, or 10% on your sales price, or you get a crappier deal than you should have if you bought with someone who actually knew what's going on. Also follow, like, subscribe on Twitter and YouTube. Again, posting trades on Twitter if you're not part of the Discord room. Again, if you're not part of the Discord room and you're not on X and you're not following, you're missing out there. Again, I appreciate any likes, subscribes, whatever. I don't know. It's like you're asking for it, but the coaches are like, oh, you should ask for stuff. It's like, whatever. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to hit the thanks button. I appreciate it. It's options expiration, so go fitting. Check out this educational video on what to expect. Spend 10 minutes listening to this video. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. Also, updating the website. Appreciate it all. Well, again, check it out. We're going to be adding more blogs. It's got the updates, what's going on Twitter. Again, if you want to reach out, let me know how I can help you guys. Because again, I think there's a lot of folks out there who are thirsting for more knowledge and more resources. And again, I continue to upgrade the website. And again, also check out my real estate website too if you want to get the cost to what your home value is worth. You can throw that in there too. So let's just get into it. See me. We know going into the end of January, we have nothing coming as of right now. Again, subject to change. Bitcoin, talked about this endlessly. After a big move, you get a chop. After the chop, we consolidate. And you need to then hold levels or break out of levels to confirm it. So be careful out here because, again, it looks like we might be taking out the bottom end of the range. And if we take out 92,000, you know what could happen next. I would say 86, and then you could always come back to the breakouts. It's not easy, y'all. I tell this, folks. Let's zoom out again. Here's some of the other. You have nothing to compare against, right? So when you make new highs, the support and resistance, this can all backfill very quickly because there's no one here who took a stand previously. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So be careful out there. Let me know how I can help. on that. Oil, again, let's look at oil. We've talked about how oil seems to be holding the mid 60s. This puts the Feds in a pickle. How can you lower rates if oil builds and starts building and building and building and commodities start to get bought? Natural gas seems to be holding up pretty dang well. Credit where credit's due. Again, I'd like to see it lower. Again, I'd like to buy more commodity stocks. Right now, I think shorting has more like risk reward or reward versus risk. Because again, we talk about they throw the baby out with the bathwater. If they do that in some of these commodity names, you're going to feel the pinch. So again, we like natural gas, we like oil, we like all materials for a nice trade after the next washout, in my opinion. And again, they might even wash, and this is the thing which will be interesting. You might actually see rotation out of tech and see commodity names just sideways action too. That's always possible. Dollar, we've talked about, it's been on fire. If you take out the ex-div, it's still continuing to make higher highs. Why is that? It seems like global currencies abroad everywhere are just not doing good. TLT said we need to hold the 86, 87, more like 87 area. Once it didn't, said it's more likely we're going to fill this gap, see some 85s. Seeing some green shoots down here, a little bit of decent volume. It's above the 30-day moving average of volume. That's what this line is. That's kind of running along. It's a good starting point, but it's not guaranteed. At worst, this is an oversold bounce. At best, it could be the bottom, but again, I am struggling to see how bonds get bought here, especially if commodities continue to rise. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. VIX, talked about this endlessly. You need to clear the mid-19s. We seem to be holding higher highs and higher lows. We got up into 20 and then gave it back, and look at the close, y'all. And now we're going into option expiration, right? Right? Is now going to be one of those moments where, this week could be choppy, sloppy. You bet your ass it could be, right? But could the VIX continue to creep up? We talked about the VIX bottomed 2 weeks ago, and then, was making a higher low last week. So can't be too surprised by the market weakness. And we talked about there was more downside risk than upside. And how many times did I say, I'm not surprised when we hit the 100-day at some point. Because now you have a 20-day curling down. You have a lower high. You had a gap and trap last week. We talked about this. It looked like a gap, and then I thought it'd be gap and chop. Honestly, it wasn't even that with that holiday. It was gap and flop. Now you're making lower lows. Zoom out. It looks like a rounding head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it, topping action. You have to hold the 100-day. If that breaks, first support here, I'll just pull these across, is there. And then you come to here. Again, all these levels matter. They could all be way stations, whereas if you come down, you chop. You come down, you chop, like here, right? Like you come down, you chop. You could chop here. But again, this is where we don't know, is if the VIX starts rising, the velocity of the downside moves could become stronger. And if they do that, then support can get cut through like hot knife through butter. QQQ, we've talked about how this has been a lagging dog. Same kind of thing. Said once it broke the 50-day, it's going to get ugly. I don't know why it wouldn't. Right? If you got support resistance, you can pull it from the VAP. You could say somewhere around the 100-day also makes a lot of sense. Right? Here's this VAP zone. I'll just show you guys how I do this. Oops. Right there. You have VAP zone. You have multiple candle inflection points. Looks obvious that would be the first support. So keep an eye on it. We've talked about the IWM, how it's continued to lag and not lead. Took out the range lows. Yikes. Bulls, this is not stuff you want to see if you're bullish the market. Not saying you can't be bullish long term. You do whatever you got to do. Near term, it doesn't really seem that strong. We talked about the DIA led up for many months. Now we're coming back into new lows. Gold, again, I like gold. Like gold a lot. Breaking the downtrend. We said needed to, but I don't like these dojis. You did get volume, which is good. Right? But we've seen this before because we had a trend line here previously, and then it broke out and gave it up. That's what's so tough here. And it's tough because, again, silver will have like this industrial commercial metal properties where people will, sell it if they get economic weakness. Same kind of thing. GDX, we want to see the miners lead. We talked about the oversold bounce. Hits the 200-day, hit the 50-day. Cool. Keep an eye on these names. Will they break out? It's tough to really trust because, again, if the market flushes, these names are part of the indexes, right? They're part of the market, so they can get flushed. AEM, AG. They all were due for bounce. We talked about that, right? Newmont. All these names, but are the bottoms in? That's the question. Like, if you bought down here, it's a really easy trade, in my opinion. You buy at the lows. you set your stops and you see what happens, right? It's like when we were talking about buying the TLT, like you just buy the low, see what happens. If you get stopped out, you get stopped out. So it's no different than short and high. You go, I don't know, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So again, I can understand those names in buying the miners, but do I actually trust them? No, not really, because I've seen what happens. They can throw the baby out with the bathwater. They all go. Taiwan Semi has earnings coming up this week. Popped on some ASML news. I mean, this thing has been on fire. Keep an eye on it, right? Like, I mean, I'm not trading this one, but it's worth watching. Micron, we're watching again. Seems to be stuck between these, 180s and the 110s, somewhere in that range, going nowhere fast. AMD continues to get clobbered. Told you guys this thing is a dog. It's done. But it's not going to always go down. That's what the thing. You get down, you get some rebound, get some chop. It looks like we're now into the next phase of the downtrend, which again, some people who are wave theory folks get kind of crazy about this. But point being is you get the chop, then you drop. And here's the chop, drop, next support. I'm assuming is somewhere around, yeah, I figured somewhere in this. I'll just pull it. I mean, you can see it here. Let me get it. Somewhere around 110. Right? Old upside target zones. We got there, man. That's interesting. So keep an eye on it. I mean, there's a lot here. I need to clean up these charts, but I'll be watching the 110s. NVIDIA, we talked about how this is the short of 2025, in my opinion. Talked about the 99% odds that this was a blow off top. There you go. Now, again, it could consolidate. It's not saying that it can't. It has to just melt down below the 127s, but so far it looks good, right? In my opinion. Again, competition's coming. SMCI, we've talked about this one. It's tough to really know. I'm not going to waste too much time on it. Intellectual property. Folks just always, man, a lot of hate here, and I'm okay with hate as long as you're just respectful. But this thing has been a donkey, and people continue to say it's a buy, and I'm like, man, don't. I mean, again, if you wanted to buy it here, I mean, you could say the same thing about gold, metal, anything, like buy at the lows, see what happens here. If you really want to, go ahead. I just expect commodities to lead, industrials to lead at some point. I just don't see semiconductors being a part of it. Tech in general, just not, right? Here we go. Hits the range highs. Kapow. 200-day is crucial. Adobe. Things that you would see, if the market was strong, like Adobe would get bought on dips, right? No, just going to make some new lows. Apple. Told you guys the 230s were coming. I mean, a lot of people got really frustrated over the last couple of weeks. They're like, oh, it's going to the moon. Look, it's active. So I'm like, feels like a big trap. Now we're back. The 230s, are we due to bounce? We'll see. Again, it could cut right through it like butter. I'm telling you. It's possible. Especially the VIX starts creeping up. Volatility, fear, worry. Amazon looks like a choppy top, 1618. Again, I mean, there's certain names that look better to short than others. Talked about shorting Meta. I mean, again, you had another retest of the 630. You're welcome. Again, I apologize I wasn't around on Friday, but CRM, here you go, right? Gaps up, traps, blow off top. Here again, if you've ever read Reminiscent Stock Operator, like we talk about, recommended reading book, blow off tops, blow off bottom, allows for the merchants, operators to unload. All that good news. And Google, next level chips, seems to be holding up again. High and tight. 20-day really needs to hold. I mean, we're basically there. Microsoft, we talked about this. Like this fills this gap up here and gives it all back. Big ranges. NDAQ, to me, this is probably the second short of 2025. That makes sense. Again, this index and this exchange by itself will not be getting the volumes that they once had. Once people start dumping tech, it's gone. I've seen this happen before. 100-day, again, if you shorted 1618, you're looking good. MicroStrategy, this one is going to play games. Again, we talked about oversold due to bounce. Bounced, couldn't really predict where. Just bounced to wherever the fuck it wanted, essentially. Now you're in between. At some point, I do think you will see a 240 handle. Netflix, look at this, finally gotten whacked. This thing has been on fire, and I've talked about, like, I don't see any legitimate reason why this is trading at such a premium. Here we go, starting to roll over. You see how the names are starting to weaken. The whole market itself looks weaker. Apple, I mean, you name it. We'll go through them. All these tech names that have been leading up look the weakest. Just looking at Roblox, holding up pretty well. Pan W, again, we talked about. I like this name. I like cybersecurity names in time. So I pull back, 200-day, chop. Tesla, we talked about the blow off top. I apologize. Again, let's look at Tesla through the lens of reality here. Big straight line move, needs to consolidate. People get mad when I'm saying, hey, it's going to pull back, it's going to go sideways, it might not do what you think it's going to do. Be careful. They get mad. Now again, trade around your positions. Again, you nothing goes straight up forever. Insight, like this company to get bought out, talked about this in time. Seems to be chopping. I mean, I'd love to see a 5 handle on it. 5 handle. Palantir, we talked about how this was like leading up, right? This is an old tech leader. Wow. Right? We talked about this blow off. Then you got the retest. And now you're starting to melt. And now again, 20 days moving, curling down. You could always come back and test that at some point. But man, this thing just was a rocket. McDonald's, again, going nowhere. But man, if we take out the range lows in the 200 days, there's a gap down here. So I mean, 280 should be support. If it doesn't, yikes. DKNG, again, we talked about this one, taking some profit down here in the mid 30s. Great trade, bouncing. Said look for all these moving average convergence to be resistance. Now you're getting there. I didn't think we'd get there on Friday. But hey, you got there. Again, didn't do any trading. But if this opens up around 40 on Monday, I think it's, I'd be watching shorts in the 40 area. Airbnb, we talked about this one, just seems to be dead money. I watch it for real estate stuff, right? I don't really watch the housing index too much in this video because most people wouldn't. But Airbnb is the stock a lot of what people watch. Keep it on it. Takes out that like 125, could break. Costco, we talked about the 1,000 level being the top because of the advertising, the operators. Now it seems to be chopping. I said this clearly last week. I said, don't be surprised if after you come down, you hit the 100-day, you get a bounce. There you go. Get your bounce. Congrats, y'all. Starbucks. Here we go. Chop, 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 chop. Again, I think this company as a whole, in general, has a lot to prove. So will it hold up? Held the 200-day. These are names I just leave alone. FedEx, but we watch them. We talked about this one, shorting the pops. Booyah. Take out the next lows. Booyah. I mean, it looks pretty good. Again, this one's a wild one which you can trade. Caterpillar, we said the 200-day being really, 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 really important. Again, you're starting to see, if you've gotten this far in the video, leave a heart, leave a comment. You're starting to see how like leaders are starting to lag. Names that were holding levels that looked strong and had been strong are starting to crack and making lower lows and lower highs. This is stuff that leads to downtrends. Now again, near term with OPEX, could it chop around? Probably. But don't be surprised if it gets uglier. Deere, same kind of thing. Nucor, again, we like, right? We like steel names. Could these be the bottoms? X, right? We like X I like it in the 20s. I think they will get bought out, but VALE, global growth name, right? Just not looking right. Arrow, junior copper. We said this was due to bounce. You got your bounce. Cool. How much higher do we got? I don't know, but I'd be watching for pullbacks. CCJ, we like uranium. We've been on record saying you got to watch the top, right? Goldman starts upgrading the highs. You got to get the fuck out. Excuse my language. Now we start taking out lows. Said this candle looked a little funky. Look what happened. Now you're taking out the lows, man. You take out the 200-day. I've gone on record. I said I would like to see this with like a 30 or 2 or 3 handle. I'd love to see it. I'd really like to see it come back. I know uranium prices are at 13-month lows. Love to see it down in this range. That would be a gift. CF, again, we like ag names, right? Ag. They're just chopping. Mosaic, chopping. Man, in time, patience, grasshopper. Let these names just kind of bleed out, right? Just be careful. AA Aeron, right? We like AA long term. We like aluminum. Let this one play out. Let it come on back down into the 20s. Again, these are names you just watch. XLF finally starting to take out new lows. Again, do you see everything starting to go? We said, all right, here you go. Probably going to bounce back to this 50, 100-day or 20-day confluence. Booyah. Now, again, if you bought the FAS and the 5s, I don't know, you bought this down here, you're feeling pretty good because if this thing goes rocket, cool. XLF. Now, remember, we have bank earnings. On Wednesday, you have BlackRock, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. On Thursday, at Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, PNC, US Bank. So again, I've had some short JP Morgan. What do you think I'm going to do going in earnings, right? Hedge it. Duh. JP Morgan. Again, here we go. Takes out these lows, and it might not, right? It might be one of the things where this is just waiting to get pounded for earnings. So I will have to accordingly. Again, I got in around 245. Got some longer dated puts. What I might do is buy some weekly calls as a hedge. Does it make sense? So if it does pop, because I have long dated puts, buy short dated calls. So if it pops on earnings Wednesday morning, great. Take that money, take that hedge off, take that, cash in those calls. Cool. And if it goes up, if it goes down and I lose money on the calls, that's fine. That's just part of hedging, right? You buy insurance, you pay insurance in your house so that if it burns down, you don't have to pay $500,000. But if it does and you had insurance, you appreciate it, right? Morgan Stanley, hit that confluence, fail. Bank of America, right? We talked about it been holding up pretty darn well, but here we go, right? Goldman Sachs, same kind of thing. They've been holding up pretty well, making lower highs. Carry, we said at some point this 100-day was going to crack. You're welcome, right? XBI, another one that we watch, right? Growth name, like economic growth name, can't go anywhere. Jets, I know people who are looking at shorting, it looks like long dated. Look at Friday's action. I mean, I think it was Delta that said something about how great their numbers are going to be. Okay. Now, is that priced in? Because, again, how great their numbers, I mean, that's a huge move for the airlines, y'all. I mean, again, that is not sustainable. Housing index, we've talked about this one looking like crap. Yeah, exactly. So keep an eye on it with the solar names. Solar, we talked about dead cat bounces. At some point, they hit levels and they pull back. I mean, again, they look like big downtrends that either are basing or just going to go lower. ENPH has definitely more room to go. Keep an eye on that. First Solar has been one of the leaders, right? Seems to be in a chop zone. Keep an eye on it. HYG, I mean, I've said this, you got to be high to your mind to buy corporate debt. There you go. Let's run through oil. Look at that pop on Friday, right? Can't be friendly for the feds, but it kind of feels, and again, I'm going to put an arrow on this. It feels like a little blow off top. Keep an eye on it. UNG, I hate this product. Absolutely hate this product. Ugh. I'd rather short the KLD. Now, again, if you're back down at the range lows, you should be taking profits. We've talked about that. XOP, these names have been leading up. Cool. Didn't see, wasn't around on Friday, but look at that, right? Hits the 200-day to a T, backing off. I would now start probably locking in some profits, or hedge, right? You could sell some calls out of the money. If you're really worried about it pulling back, you could always buy some puts. You can sell deep in the money. I mean, there's a lot of strategies. If you have questions, just reach out. CVE, we talked about this one bottoming. Valero, we talked about like the gasoline names that were due for a bounce. MPC, same kind of thing, due for a bounce, right? BP, we talked about this. Again, I'll give Jay Solstice. Again, I love giving credit to people in Discord. We've been talking about the bottoming down here. Said to 100-day, here you go. Now near term, it probably could go into a chop zone. ExxonMobil, this one's been going nowhere fast off the lows, which you would think would be stronger, but you did get that 110 level, but someone seems to be hitting the sell signal. Occidental, we like this long term. I know Buffett's not going to lose. He knows what he's doing. We talked about the oversold bounce. 100-day, you got it. EQT seems to be holding up pretty well. I know some of the homies trading this one. Congrats. Again, back up towards the range highs. When you zoom out, you see what it really is. It's a big chop zone. Again, if you break over that 52 level, wow. Flex LNG, last but not least, again, because I think we'll be natural gas exporters. Again, big choppy zone. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. If you need any help, you also have the Calendly link. Hit me up. If you ever want to chat, do not hesitate to hit me up. I appreciate all the love, support, generous donations. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Peace. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.